Hello and welcome to the Whirly Bloke channel. Today I'll be reviewing this 2.5 inch Larva Toothpick class quad from HappyModel.
Welcome to OpenTX.
So here we've got another toothpick class quad from HappyModel. This is the Larva X. And I know a toothpick quad will never have the power and the flying characteristics of a 5 inch, but this comes pretty close, and it does a great job of fooling you into thinking you're on a very agile 5 inch. You can throw it around, and even though it doesn't have the weight of a 5 inch, it's got plenty of inertia, so those quick throttle off maneuvers make it feel like it's a much larger quad. And that's what toothpicks are all about. But they're so much cheaper to build or buy, they're fun, fast, and very responsive and cheap to run. On a 3S HV Lipo, you'll get about 6 minutes flying out of this. Push it hard and it'll be a lot less, but it's still a lot longer than flying a 5 inch. So this Larva X is a 100mm 2.5 inch frame, and it's cut from 3mm carbon, and as you can see it's a true X. And this one is very stiff, remarkably stiff. and it's got really good protection around the motors here, so you're not going to damage those bells when you hit a tree at any time. And this is using the Crazybee F4 Pro version 3 all-in-one flight controller with ESCs. Now, I've had my problems with the version 2 of this board, and so have many others. It has a habit of frying the 5-volt buck inverter, and I've got quite a few dead ones lying around here. Now, it seems the ESCs were causing massive spikes on the supply that the BEC simply wasn't spec'd for, and it would just die. And this was partially fixed by HappyModel by adding a large capacitor across the battery terminals to suppress all those spikes. But this V3 version has upgraded 10 amp ESCs. They're a lot less noisy, and the back has been changed. And it seems that has fixed things. Certainly the Cinecam 4K I tested a couple of months ago that uses this V3 controller has been fine. One thing that hasn't changed though is the onboard SPI receiver, which has just got awful range. On the Cinecam it was about 50 meters. So when I ordered this one, I got it with the FrSky R-XSR receiver that's mounted on the back here with a zip tie, and you can get it with an XM Plus as well. So range isn't going to be a problem, and I've mounted the antennas out on a couple of zip ties on the side here and a bit of heat shrink, and those are all provided in the box. And this flight stack is all nicely soft mounted. You can probably see here we've got soft mounts on there. It's pretty nice. The USB on the underside of the quad here and the underside of the Crazybee board is very easy to get to. There's a nice little cutout there, which is good. And this battery strap, I know these are built to a budget and they had to keep the cost down, but rubbish battery straps really irritate me. I mean, a good one really can't cost much more than one of these. And this one is just way too long to wrap round a 3S. It just needs cutting down a bit. And this flight controller in here is flashed with Betaflight 4.0.5 on the Crazybee F4DX target. Now these motors, they're just so light. These are the EX1103 7000 kV motors, which are very responsive, and I think that's down to the low mass of this bell here. They're very light, they're about 4 grams, and speed changes on this motor are just almost instantaneous. The props you get with these will either be the Emax Evan Rush or these HQ T2.5 by 2.5 by 3, depending on what's available. Mine came with these HQs, which I found completely fine. I know the Emax Evans are a fairly aggressive prop, so they will have more drag. On the top of the stack here is a HappyModel Diamond VTX that's got 40 channels and a built-in DVR for recording your flight footage. It'll only be as good as the camera, in this case a 700 TV line Runcam Nano 2, but there'll be no video breakup or noise. And the DVR records at 1280 by 720 at 25 frames a second, and that will be in AVI format. And the VTX is power and channel switchable with TBS Smartaudio, and it uses this simple sleeved dipole antenna. And by default this VTX is set to 200 milliwatts, which is the maximum it will go to, and because it's been pre-configured by HappyModel with VTX low power mode on in Betaflight, it will always be set to 25 milliwatts until the quad is armed, and then it will switch over to whatever you set it to. It's really nice to see that HappyModel are going to this care in their setup. And the Nano 2 is a pretty good camera. I like the dynamic range it gives you, so the light to dark transitions under trees and shadows are very snappy. This has got a 2.1mm lens, so you'll get about 155 degrees field of view. And I found the sharpness a bit too much for me, so there's slight ringing on the edges and the sort of like shimmer that you get. But that's pretty much a personal thing and can be easily turned down. And the colours are a little bit saturated for me. Now this canopy, you get a spare one of these in the box as well. This has been moulded from polycarbonate, so it's pretty hard, which means jello is non-existent. If this was TPU, I'd be slightly worried. And there's plenty of protection on the camera here, and it's really easy to just adjust the camera. You can wind that up and down like that. Now, the build quality is pretty good. It's not the best I've seen, but there's nothing horrible in here. I did have to tuck some of these wires in to get them out of the way of the props. Now, the all-up weight for this, let's have a quick look, shall we? So we've got 54.1 grams, which is super light. And you can power this on 2 or 3S, and I use these GNB 450 milliamp hour 3S HV lipos, and the tune was just fine. I tried it on 2S and it's a bit underpowered, but I did have to tweak the rates just to suit my particular flying style. Now, it's really fast and agile, and the only prop wash was on hard vertical drops followed by full throttle, and that's easily flown round and maybe a little bit harder to tune out, but it's nothing to worry about. And I think these HQ props are a bit softer than the Emax Evan Rushes, but it felt very smooth to fly. And as soon as you arm it, you can tell it's going to be good. It's quiet and it's smooth, and it only takes a tiny bit of throttle to get it in the air. And it's quiet enough to fly safely in the park, and people will hardly know you're there. HappyModel have really created a quad that's fun to fly cheap and gives pretty respectable flight times. It's durable, and spares are easily available direct from HappyModel and various other dealers. So all in all, a great little quad that will keep you smiling and wanting to buy a whole load more 3S lipos. As always, thanks for watching, and if you found that useful, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. And if it's your first visit, then please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the bell to get notified when I post a new video. I'll see you next time.